Welcome back. I hope that you found your conversations beneficial and energizing, and perhaps you learned a few things about Shabbat that you didn't already know. So we now are asking ourselves the question, what might Shabbat look like today? What is the role of our Shabbat rituals? And in particular, what is the purpose of all of these blessings that we say at the beginning of Shabbat? This is looking at Shabbat, again, through the lens of Hit'orarut. To what are we supposed to, or what might we awaken ourselves to when we perform the Shabbat rituals? It's important to remember that when we say the words Baruch Atah, and continuing with the rest of the Jewish blessing formula, that we are not blessing the candles, we're not blessing the wine, and we're not blessing the bread. We are blessing or expressing gratitude to God for providing these materials and these rituals to us. We remember that when we say the blessing, expressing gratitude for the light of the Shabbat candles, we remember that while we are given light according to the story of creation in the Torah, the Shabbat lights are something that we have to kindle. We manipulate the original lights in the world in order to bring them to our own Shabbat tables. We also express gratitude for the fruit of the vine, the grapes that come from the tree. We make our juice or wine from these grapes. And we also say the blessing Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We express gratitude to God for bringing forth bread from the earth. Now, I don't know about you, but in my world and in my gardens and in the pictures that I've seen of farms, etc., challah does not grow directly from the earth. It's the wheat, right? Everything that is in front of us for Shabbat, the candles, the juice or wine, the challah, we make in partnership with God. We as human beings have the power to collaborate, to manipulate our resources in order to make them better, in order to refine them, in order to allow them to bring even more joy to our lives than they already do. And we awaken to that on Shabbat. For example, in our house, before we light the Shabbat candles, we say as a family, as these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by the lives that we live, give light to all who behold us. As their light reminds us of the generations of Israel that have kindled light, so may we be among those who kindle light. In this way, all of us are reminded weekly that the candles are a symbol of the light that is in the world, and that we ourselves can be a light to the world. When we say the Kiddush, or the blessing, expressing gratitude for the wine or grape juice, we realize that the wine didn't grow on those trees. We took the fruit of the vine and again manipulated it as a symbol of joy in our lives and a symbol of partnership with God's resources and the earth's resources. And again, with the wheat that comes from the earth, it is through human effort that that wheat is turned into challah and the other foods that we eat. We awaken ourselves to our partnership with God, and then we declare that it is Shabbat. And now, instead of continuing to manipulate, continuing to create, continuing to work, we rest for the next 24 or 25 hours in appreciation of our work and God's work and our partnership with God. So now we might want to ask ourselves how our celebrations manifest the messages of Shabbat in additional ways. Community, partnership, how do we prepare for Shabbat? How do we build communal anticipation during the week for Shabbat's appearance? How do we rest from creation in appreciation of the week and its work? How do we use our Shabbat celebrations to connect with generations past and to empower generations for the future to continue to celebrate Shabbat? And how do we use Shabbat to expand our sense of freedom? Remembering that Shabbat is not only a reminder of the 6 days of creation, but as our Kiddush reminds us, a reminder of our exodus from Egypt as well. So going forward, I encourage you to take a look at the guiding questions at the end of your study guide. How can our Shabbat rituals expand what we really want our students and teachers and staff and JCC families to take away from our celebrations? For example, is there a benefit to expanding Shabbat beyond the 15 to 30 minutes when we perform the ritual and eat the challah? What might that look like? How might the rituals of Shabbat be seeds for larger learning throughout the week and the year? Lessons of light and dark, turning things that we get from the earth, such as fruit or grain, into the foods that we eat. How do we partner and collaborate with others in terms to build and make the world a better place? How can we at the JCCs share what we're doing with our parents and families, not just the rituals themselves, but the values and the reasons behind them, so that we can continue to expand on what we are doing in our classrooms? Are there creative ways of celebrating Shabbat as a community, given some of the time and space limitations that we operate with? And what different aspects of Shabbat can be built upon from year to year based on the age or the capacity of our students? Let's remember again to begin with ourselves. Why is Shabbat meaningful to us? What rituals have a significance in our lives? And once we have figured it out in our hearts and our heads, we'll be so much more capable of explaining and empowering and expanding our ideas with others. Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy.